we're in May and it's not too bad. I mean, the humidity hadn't kicked in so far, but as the day and as the rest of the month progresses and we get toward June, I can guarantee you that humidity is going to start to kick in, and it's going to, welcome to Florida. That's all I can say. What is going on, everybody? I am Celos, and I want to welcome you guys once again to my channel, Pay Yourself Back, where the focus is on mental awareness and spiritual wellness, as well as paying yourself back, doing for you. You do everything for everybody else, so take some time out to do for yourself. Pay yourself back. So I'm always going to say this as long as I'm in Florida, guys. It's another beautiful day in South Florida. Got my blinds open here, got my window cracked, and I'm letting in some of that good old fresh air. Just a little ways down from the beach here, so we get that little circulation of air coming through. So yeah, I got good energy going on right now, guys. But you know, I am still getting quite a few comments. People share their story telling me that they're moving to Florida, or that they want to move to Florida, and they asked me if I could recommend safe neighborhoods or neighborhoods that have relatively low or cheap rent. So what I thought I would do is just kind of address some of those questions and then put my little 2 cents in as well for you guys. But let me just say, guys, I know I don't want this to sound like it's rude or anything like that, but the first thing that you should ask yourself is, why should you move to Florida? And it is a real question. Like I say, I'm not trying to be rude or disrespectful to anybody or discourage anybody, but it is a real question. And maybe you could have a job opportunity. Maybe you want to be closer to family. Maybe you're nearing retirement for your career, and maybe you just want to spend the rest of your retirement here, buy a home, etc. Or you're just looking for a change, kind of like me. But all in all, you got to be honest with yourself. Now, I understand that some people who move here have unrealistic expectations. What I mean by that is that they move here, just my opinion, they move here and thinking they're going to get that condo right on the beach, popping bottles, or making all this money so they can drive that big body S550 Benzo. I'm like, Jerome, got to get rid of your friend though if you want to ride in the Benzo. Now, I'm not saying that you can't, but if that's your reason for moving here and your sole reason for moving here, you might want to take a moment to reevaluate, reassess that decision, unless you're already living like that. Now, if you're already living like that, popping bottles and things of that nature, you know what I'm saying, you're into certain things and certain industries, then you'll fit right in down here, because Miami, you already know, I ain't got to tell you. But with that being said, also, don't get me wrong. I mean, there are a lot of ballers and professional athletes who live here. There's no secret about that. I mean, Florida does have multiple pro athletic teams. From basketball, you got the Miami Heat, you got the Orlando Magic. We have 3 football teams here. Wow, man, Miami Dolphins, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Jacksonville Jaguars, 2 Major League Baseball teams. You got the Marlins, and I forgot about the Tampa Bay Rays. I forgot about them. We also have 2 hockey teams. I knew about the Panthers, but I didn't know that we had another one, the Tampa Bay Lightning. So really, I mean, you got some big money makers here. I mean, it ain't nothing to see Bentleys, McLarens, Lamborghini Huracán. Which is my favorite. Wraith, which they call them double R's down here, aka Rolls Royce. Shout out to Rolls Royce, especially in Miami. I mean, even where I hang out up in Broward County, Hollandale Beach, Hollywood Beach, all day long up and down the street. I've never seen so many Range Rovers. I think a Range Rover here is like, let me see, it's like a Tahoe, you know, or something like that, like a Explorer. You see them all day long. Maseratis, it's just crazy. I was like, wow, what do these people do? You know, but I will tell you, you know, you also have your white collar and blue collar ballers as well. You know, you're going to have your white collar, like your doctors, your lawyers, et cetera, et cetera. That's the thing about Florida. You can make 6 figures cutting grass. Hold on now. I'm not saying that you can come down here and cut grass and make 6 figures. I mean, you're 15, 16 years old. That's not what I'm saying. I mean that if you have a business, like you see a lot of landscaping businesses who do well down here. And that's what I mean, making those 6 figures or more. They have a buildup of clientele that they have, I mean, corporate. And so these guys make a lot of money. I talk to them. I know a couple guys who are doing it and they making a lot of money. You might laugh, but it's landscaping. You do you know, all of that stuff, but it's, you know, you cut grass basically, and they do well. A lot of people here are successful by just taking advantage of the land and what Florida has to offer, because the weather in South Florida is hot year round. So a lot of people take advantage of that. Also, I've seen a lot of people here in South Florida who are really successful blue collar wise, and they started from the ground up and grew their business to what it is today, especially if you have skills like you're an electrician, a welder, plumber, you're into construction or mechanic. I mean, they do real well. I talk about this in my other videos, guys. The skilled labor is where it's at least in South Florida. But like I do say in my other videos, it would be in your best interest to not move here with a tourist mentality. As enticing as it may sound, and despite the shows that you see on TV, CSI Miami and all these other shows that glamorize Florida, there are some realities that may be hard for you to face when you get here. Well, Silos, what do you mean? The 2 most important factors that are going to affect your quality of life here in Florida, in my opinion, are employment and where you stay. You may be surprised if you have to take a pay cut, because it's no secret, and I also talk about this, guys, it's no secret that the wages in Florida are low. You might want to do some serious research on that, because I have no reason to try to pull something out of my, you know what, it's no secret. There are jobs here. There are a lot of jobs, and you will get a job. But in order to keep food on the table, you may have to take a job or take a position outside of what you're used to doing. It's just a fact. Not saying that it would happen, but it's something that you need to take into consideration before you move here, if you're planning on moving here. Another thing, moving during this pandemic, it may present some challenges, especially, you know, when it comes down to work. I mean, I know it's already been put out at my job that there's a hiring freeze. So I'm sure that a lot of other jobs are going to be in that same way. I mean, some of these smaller businesses here in South Florida may have taken a hit that is detrimental to the point where they may not reopen. So all those people who were working for them, they may be out of a job, you know, permanently. I mean, because they may not be able to reopen, they may not be able to recoup. So if you had plans to move anytime soon, just take that into consideration, guys. What I have noticed also, and the first thing that I've noticed probably the first couple of months I was here, is that tourism is a big economy booster here in Florida, especially in South Florida. I mean, just think about it. You got the Port of Miami, you got the Port of Fort Lauderdale, Port of West Palm Beach. I mean, tourists, they come here and they catch the cruises to the Caribbean islands, you know, Jamaica, Dominican Republic, you know, places like that, the Bahamas. They spend their money at the hotels, stay in the resorts, and they shop. So there's a lot of that money keeps the economy afloat, especially here in South Florida. I mean, you're always hearing about something going on South Beach, concerts, and especially during spring break, big money. The downside, though, for you guys who are planning on moving there, the downside to that is that it doesn't matter actually whether it's here in South Florida, California, or Hawaii. The downside of it is that it drives up the cost of living when it comes down to apartment renting and home buying, which can affect your quality of life in a good way or in a bad way. I don't know how it could affect it in a good way unless you're like into real estate. And by the way, the guys there are some ballers, serious ballers here that are in real estate as well. I mean, those guys do very well flipping houses. There's a lot of people who have generational wealth. A lot of people come here from other places and do real well because they have families that have that generational wealth. So they do well. I have seen real estate. You would be, because South Florida is, I mean, it's buildings are going up all the time. It's not like, I did videos about Homestead where you got all this land and all this real estate and nothing's on it. Here in South Florida, it's a concrete playground. There's a building on every piece of land. There's no woods, there's no forest, there's nothing. Like, everything has something on it. So you just imagine all of those real estate investors and the guys who are in construction that own these big construction companies, they making real good money. They doing well. So just, think about that. That's something I've noticed. I've done videos, so check that out, guys, as well. Okay, for those of you who want to know where the best place is to rent an apartment or buy a house, I recommend looking online at something like Zip Realty or Zillow, and just pay close attention to the tab on the graph that says crime. That'll kind of give you a general idea about those areas that you guys have been asking me about. Also, look at how the schools rate for that community. That's very, very important, guys. That says a lot. Look at the schools. Believe me. And I'm just giving you guys this information because I don't want to be biased. What works for me may not work for you. As long as I'm in Broward County, where I'm at now, my preference to live, my personal preference will always be somewhere east of 95. I could go between the Turnpike and 95, but my preference would be east of I-95. You pay a little bit more, but you get more. And I know what you guys are going to say about hurricanes, this and that, blah, blah, blah. I mean, this is kind of the reason why I moved to Florida, to be able to enjoy those areas near the beach. Call me crazy, but I think that's the reason why a lot of people move here, because they want to do that. Some people may not be able to do that, but you're going to get to a point, if you want it bad enough, make it happen. It'll happen. So in closing, guys, at the end of the day, it's your decision. It doesn't matter what nobody else thinks, nobody else says. Once you've answered the question of why should I move to Florida, and it makes sense to you, hey, it's all good with me. All I have to say is good luck. I hope that you guys have enjoyed the video. I hope that I've answered some of those questions and shed some positive light on your situation if you are out there. I mean, at the end of the day, guys, it is what it is. It's some things that you need to take into consideration. Some things that you're not going to know until you get here. No matter how much research you do, no matter how many videos you watch, it's just some things that you're going to encounter that you're just not going to expect, and you're going to have to deal with accordingly. And I just think that's anywhere that you move. But with that being said, guys, I just want to thank you guys for taking the time out of your busy schedule to support me. Like the video, subscribe to Pay Yourself Back. And until next time, be well, my friend. CeeLos out, baby. What is going on, everybody? I want to thank you guys. Allow.